This program has been brought to you through the generous support of the City of Glenwood Springs, Colorado. We invite you to learn more about this year-round destination at visitglenwood.com.
Welcome to Street Level Glenwood Springs. I'm your host, Juliana Broste. We are so excited to be here in majestic Glenwood Springs, Colorado, also known as the Land of Water. This entire season, we continue to explore the natural bounties and rich history of this breathtaking valley. Tonight, we're coming to you from America's only mountaintop theme park. The Glenwood Caverns Adventure Park has a little bit of everything: cave tours, thrill rides, and much more. Nestled in the heart of the Rocky Mountains, the Adventure Park sits on the top of Iron Mountain with breathtaking views of the Roaring Fork Valley. Looking over this incredible view, it's hard to imagine the town's humble beginnings. Glenwood was originally known as Defiance, established in 1883 as a camp of tents, saloons, and houses of ill repute. As the name implies, a rowdy crowd of gamblers, gunslingers, and garish gals populated Defiance. Versatile Productions takes us back in time to the seedy side of town.
The trains first rolled into Glenwood Springs in 1887, creating easier access in the town, which in turn created a boom. This brought in all types of characters, starting with the working class, and then later, on the other side of the tracks, the wealthy.
Hold your hand down, naughty boy. Hold your hand down, naughty
Oh, Glenwood's seedier history happened when it first began here. In 1800s, the early 1800s, Carbonate was a place where a big mining boom was going to happen, and that was up on the flat tops. And it brought in miners and all kinds of people. And it was supposed to be the seat for Garfield County at that time. But with the cold winters and stuff, they realized they couldn't do it up there. So they brought everything down to Glenwood. And when they did that, Glenwood started growing, and it became like a tent city. And along the riverfront were lots of saloons and hotels, of course, brothels, because the women started coming in to service the miners and the agricultural men, the farmers. Gussie Blake was the first madam in Glenwood Springs, and she was the common law wife of John Blake, who was a founding father of the town. She and John built a two-story house on the corner of Riverfront and Bennett Avenue, and that was her brothel. The red light district in Glenwood was basically 7th Street, and that was from Cooper Avenue up to Lookout Mountain. What happened was in 1887, when the trains came to Glenwood Springs, the trains brought business and things started booming, but it also brought really the scum of the earth as well. And I'm not saying that prostitutes were the scum of the earth, but they did come in droves here. And so they had brothels all the way down 7th Street. You could just jump off the train and go to the brothel. What cleaned up the town was in 1916, when Prohibition began here in Colorado. It was early. Colorado started Prohibition. So the saloons turned from serving liquor to soft drinks and candy and stuff like that. And so that was really the decline of the prostitution in Glenwood. In 1893 is when the Hotel Colorado was being built, fashioned after a villa in Italy. And it was being built by a man by the name of Devereaux, very involved in that. They wanted to make Glenwood a resort tourist area with bringing in lots of money and amazing guests.
So we believe that the hotels had an important part of the history of Glenwood, from kind of picking up the pieces after the Prohibition to providing economic jobs and revitalization when times were tough. Recently, the hotel and brew pub have been kind of the cornerstone of the redevelopment of 7th Street and Restaurant Row in Glenwood Springs. The general history of the Hotel Denver is that it was started down the street in the late 1800s by a man named Art Kendrick, and in 1905 Henry Bosco rented the top floor of what was then a saloon and started the Star Rooms, and it's been owned by the Bosco family since 1905. We ended up acquiring it in 1991. During the harder times of the Prohibition and the Great Depression, the hotels basically hung on for dear life. They was not nearly as busy. It was a popular area for people to buy grapes for their own wineries from Mr. Bosco, where they made their own wine at home. You can do that during the Prohibition. Some of the more famous guests at the Hotel Denver include Diamond Jack, who came to Colorado accused. He was basically a convicted felon of kidnapping and murder. One of the other more famous guests of the Hotel Denver was apparently Clark Gable, the actor from Gone with the Wind. He liked to come out in the 30s and go fishing for a week, as I understand it. The role of the hotel in the history of Glenwood Springs has been kind of a comfort area for the blue-collar workers, as the common man's hotel to stay in. They had a wonderful restaurant here at the hotel that everybody talks about. The hotel across the river, the Hotel Colorado, was the luxurious hotel, and the common folk really didn't feel comfortable there or could afford it. That's the biggest role of the Hotel Denver in the history. We think the Hotel Denver is still kind of the common folk place that my wife April's done a wonderful job of converting the hotel into a boutique hotel that is very comfortable for people, but not so ritzy that you feel uncomfortable. The hotel is a 68-room boutique hotel. At one time during its heyday, it was 100 rooms, but we've slowly converted it to where it's down to 68 rooms. We consider them boutique rooms. A lot of them look like the lobby here in the atrium. They have exposed bricks in the rooms. We have exposed ceilings in the rooms, quilts, hardwood floors. We have a 5,000 square foot meeting room, basically a full service hotel. So if the wall behind me could talk, I believe that it would say, be humble. You can live through everything. I've watched Prohibition. I've watched movie stars. I've watched gangsters, immigrant struggles, a shooting or two, Prohibition, and survivability.
Glenwood Springs embraces its Wild West heritage, and no visit would be complete without stopping by the historic Doc Holliday's Saloon. Elizabeth Drolette from Versatile Productions sits down with the owners to talk about the legendary watering hole with a unique menu item.
You're probably familiar with the pistol neon sign located above me. Doc Holliday's Saloon is a local's favorite bar and grill located right here in the heart of downtown Glenwood Springs. So join me as we get a first-hand look at the Old West.
One of our historical pieces here is our real working fireplace, where they do the rotisserie chicken right here on a spit, living room area, they'd all enjoy the nice hot fire. I love docks because my husband and I used to come here before we ever moved here, and we'd come over the bridge and we'd see the Pistol Neon, and we'd stop here for our annual beer every single year, and we'd have lunch and always say to each other, I was in college and he was working for Hughes Aircraft, and I was a student, and saying, oh, if we ever moved to Glenwood Springs, that would be the bar we'd want to own. And so the fact that we now get to own it is very cool. Really, a lot of people know us because of our neon sign out front. It's our Pistol Neon.
This is definitely a unique experience walking into this bar. Tell me a little bit more about what's behind you.
Our antique back bar, it's probably what Dock Holidays is most famous for, besides the Pistol Neon sign out front. It is a late 1800s back bar built by the Amalgamated Woodworkers Union. So it actually has the Amalgamated Woodworkers Union stamps on it. So we think it's pretty cool and it's beautiful. It was brought in the 80s from Leadville, Colorado. The Three Arches back bar actually has another piece of equal size that belongs with this back bar, but it was not purchased at the same time. The bar that you actually sit at is one solid piece of wood, which is 24 feet long. So I don't think that they have many pieces of wood that long anymore these days that you'll come across. I think that this bar gives you a definite old town, old west feel. I like that when you come in, it has the tin ceilings and the hardwood floors, which actually these are the original wood floors that were put in 1904. So, and I love it because when you look at all the little details, like the nails are still the square-headed nails in all these floors. And I like it because we keep it darker and the darker woods, and it just makes it feel like you've actually stepped back into a piece of time, you know, into history. And I think people love that. People walk in here and are always in awe of the big back bar. And
we get the people that come in here every year and they're like, I haven't been here in 30 years, and like, the place hasn't changed. Everything looks exactly the same, which is really nice because that's not a very common thing anymore. And so we keep the feel of, I used to be here 30 years ago. I used to drink here when I was 18, and now I'm 50, and now I'm bringing my kids in here.
We'd like to keep all of Doc's history and memories and everything the way that they are. We get over 1 million tourists a year here in our town of Glenwood Springs to come to the hot springs, and everybody seems to want to come and see Dock Holidays.
You guys are actually the only ones to serve the unique Rocky Mountain oysters.
Rocky Mountain oysters are
Not seafood.
not seafood.
So Rocky Mountain oysters are thinly sliced, they're breaded, and they're fried.
Come from bulls, typically. Sometimes in Canada and other places they also have bison and sheep. They are definitely the animals' testicles. People come in from all over for them. We have a lot of locals here that come in specifically for the Rocky Mountain oysters. If we were to ever pull those off the menu, I think I would have picketing outside, definitely. Because we're the only people that really have those around here, which we like to be our little novelty item. We have our burgers are exceptional. We're famous for our pork green chili, which is a green chili that we make homemade here. One of our most famous items is our hamburguesa real, which we smother our burger with a pork green chili. It's delicious. We have our waffle fries, which everybody loves. We have, our ribeye sandwich is delicious. Our Bloody Marys are amazing. We do an ultimate Bloody Mary that people come in for on Sunday mornings. We have to make sure we have them all ready and prepared, garnished with bacon and okra and asparagus and olives and pepperoncinis and all kinds of good stuff. So.
We have our little old-time frosty mugs that are amazing for the beers. People come in just for that.
So what drink do people order to pay respect to Dock Holiday?
We definitely get a lot of people that come in here that are asking specifically for something that's nostalgic to Dock Holiday to drink. Do you have a drink that's something Dock would have drank? So we've started carrying a lot more of the whiskeys, and we definitely would give them a shot of whiskey because that's how Dock would have done it. We really like to promote that before 10 o'clock, we aren't a bar, we are a tavern, but we also are family friendly until 10 o'clock so that people can do that. We think that's important too, that Dock Holiday's history is shared with all their kids, and I want people to bring their kids in here. I think it's great.
There's a lot of history in this building. Do you think this place is haunted?
I have a few stories myself. Right after we purchased Dock Holidays, I was up in my office upstairs and was about to start pulling liquor bottles for stocking the liquor at the end of the night, and I suddenly felt a breeze that just came past me that smelled like cigar smoke. And I've never smoked in that office, and as far as I had known, nobody really had either. So the fact that I got a breeze of wind that actually I could feel the breeze and then smelt the cigar smoke was a little bit trippy to me. But I picked up all the liquor bottles that I needed to bring downstairs to stock the liquor, and I came back downstairs and went behind the bar, and as I was going to set down the bottles of liquor to start stocking the cupboards, the 3 cupboard doors just opened for me, which is totally not possible because those cabinets all stick. You have to pull up or down to get them to open because the bar is so old. And so it was a little bit odd for me. I ended up putting all the liquor bottles down right where I was and leaving. It was time for me to pack up and go home for the night because that was a little bit of a weird one for me. But you know, that was 10 years ago, so we're comfortable with it now.
Are you ready to head to the newest hotspot in Glenwood Springs? Iron Mountain Hot Springs offers 16 natural mineral soaking pools and a freshwater family pool alongside the Colorado River just across the base of the tram at Glenwood Caverns Adventure Park. Elizabeth Drolet of Versatile Productions catches up with the owner, Steve Beckley, and discusses the history of the area and how it's been rejuvenated today.
For thousands of years, people have been using natural hot springs to relax, restore, and rejuvenate. Built in 2015, the Iron Mountain Hot Springs is Glenwood Springs' newest attraction. Today I'm going to talk to Steve Beckley, owner and visionary behind all of what you see today.
This property was developed in 1896 by Wash Allen, and basically he came here and found a spring and put in a bathhouse and a big 3-story Victorian building and some cabins and stuff, and they developed the property, and it was actually quite an endeavor. There's even quotes from the Saturday Evening Post in the 1950s that this is one of the top hot springs in the United States. We tried to take some of the pictures from the old bathhouse and use them to historically capture some of the buildings from the past. So we've really tried to tie the new technology, the new facility, but keep its roots back in the historic opening.
You're also the owner of the Glenwood Caverns Adventure Park. Can you talk more about the connection between the caverns and the Iron Mountain Hot Springs?
When we were developing the cave across the way, I kept seeing this vacant lot over here with this mineral water coming up out of the ground, and thinking what a great opportunity this would be to look at another way to have our guests in Glenwood to enjoy this beautiful scenery and maybe some soaking in the hot springs. This facility sits right across the highway on the river, across from the tramway that goes up to the caverns. Interestingly enough, the caverns was formed by this same hot springs probably 2.5–3 million years ago, when the spring was coming out of the cave, which is 1,300 feet higher in elevation than the spring comes out now. So that's how we date the caves. Historically speaking, this hot spring has been here for millions of years, and so knowing that history when we were developing the cave, and knowing that the hot springs made the cave why it is so spectacular, why it has so many formations, why it has so much color in it. I mean, the colors in the cave are brought out by the minerals in the hot springs. Researching that, knowing the hot springs was such a big part of the development of the cave, then seeing that there's this open hot springs right at the foot of the mountain, right next to the tram base, it was only a natural to see if we could buy the property, redevelop the hot springs, and continue the kind of the tie-in between the caverns and the hot springs that formed them.
So tell me about the varying temperatures of the pools and why you chose to do it that way.
One of the things that I noticed when I was traveling to all the different hot springs around the United States, I would ask people what their favorite temperature was, and I could never get one distinct answer. Some people says, well, I really like as hot as you possibly could get it. And then some people said, I like it cool where I can sit in the same water for a long time. The reason we built smaller pools is that way we can control the temperature per pool. So there's 16 different type soaking experiences where the temperatures vary from 98 degrees to 108 degrees. We have some that have rock bottoms, we have some that has infinity edges, we have some that have waterfalls. So every pool has a different temperature, a different experience. So you can wander around, find the pool of your choice, and enjoy the soaking at what you want. And the reason we can do this so easily, we have 4 different water sources. We have one water source that's at 120 degrees, all the way down to our lowest temperature, which is 101 degrees. So we can mix and match these temperatures to get just the right feel for all the pools. And we've really been innovative of how we use this heat. We take the water right from the spring, flow them into the pools. So this water you see in these pools came from the spring less than 5 minutes ago. So it comes right from the spring, goes to these pools, and never is used again in any other pool. So they flow through the pools. We collect that water, and then we take the remainder of the heat and we heat our buildings, we heat our domestic water for showers. We have 22,000 square feet of snow melt throughout the property. So we heat a large freshwater pool. So we utilize all the heat in the water before we discharge the water to the river where it naturally flowed in historically. So in the wintertime, great thing about it is that even though we might have snow around us, 22,000 square feet of walkways are heated. So when you're walking, all the walkways are at 85 degrees. And to me, that's the best experience. When it's cold outside, you're in a 104 degree pool, watching the river, watching the stars. It's my favorite time is in the wintertime to be here.
What does the Iron Mountain Hot Springs bring to the community of Glenwood Springs?
What I'm really proud is that we've taken this piece of property that used to be just a field of weeds, and we've turned it into something that's very beautiful that everybody in Glenwood could be very proud of. So I look at it and I'm just very happy that it's such a good facility and that it's working. I mean, there's kind of some question, it's kind of a new technology. We're piping these waters to the pools, we're bringing them back, we're taking heat out of it. Was it all this engineering really going to work? And so I'm really happy that it all worked, and it's such a nice facility.
Next week, we celebrate the 50th anniversary of Sunlight Mountain, one of Colorado's most beloved resorts. We also explore the history of how Glenwood Springs evolved from a Wild West encampment to a refined resort destination. And we visit the landmark Riviera Supper Club and Piano Bar. Many thanks to the City of Glenwood Springs, the Hotel Colorado, the Glenwood Springs Historical Society and Frontier Museum, as well as all the engaged business owners and wonderful residents of this beautiful town. And special thanks to Versatile Productions, a local production resource that is sharing a part of the Glenwood Springs experience through their eyes. I'm your host, Juliana Broste, and I'll see you next time on Street Level Glenwood Springs.